There was a dream in 1931 of a new Spain. But in 1936, after a turmoil of political wranglings and strikes and assassinations, the Spanish army, encouraged by Hitler and Mussolini and backed by the church, rose up against the new republic's Popular Front government. But the oppressed people of Spain had glimpsed a new future, and now their ramshackle armies were not going to let that future die.
El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido.
The cause of the Republic was going to be joined by a large number of unemployed Welsh miners, some of whom went off without even telling their wives or parents.
I hated fascism, I hated authoritarianism, and I wanted to prevent a second World War, if you like, and this is the reason I went to Spain, and I regard the war in Spain as the beginning of the Second World War. Even though it was mixed up with a civil war as well, it was the grand rehearsal for the fascists in particular.
Well, that night, the night before we went, I took my daughter to bed. It was an awful hard decision right then, you see. But I knew that once the die was cast, I had to carry it through.
I had a mother and two sisters. It was a hard decision, and I knew they would be wailing and weeping if I had told them. So I told them I was going to Colwyn Bay for the weekend.
I left home without saying a word to my father and mother. I asked for an early call in the morning to get me up in time, and I left the house without a word to anyone.
I went down to Caerphilly, and I stayed the night with my sister. I thought that would have to soften the blow a little. Well, in the morning, Jack Roberts came there, and he said to me, "Your wife's looking for you." So I said, "Where is she?" Well, she's gone up the street, she said, and she's, I suppose, watching the buses. So I said, "Right, I said, I'll go through the castle grounds now into Nancarrow Road, and I'll get the bus there." And that's what I did.
And then to London. Britain had signed the Non-Intervention Pact, and the police were on the lookout for volunteers. They managed to stop some even before they left home. So the Welshmen who set out travelled in small groups, though the details of their stories hang together almost as though they'd gone in one great party. It was very much a cloak and dagger affair.
We alighted from the train and looked for the contact we were supposed to meet, a man carrying a book under his arm. We were carrying a tin of corned beef so that he'd recognize us. This man passed us, and I approached him. I said, "Are you looking for a party from South Wales?" He said, "Christ, only 3 of you. I'm expecting 40.
The Great Paris Exhibition was on, and with a weekend return from Victoria, it cost 34 shillings, you could get there without a passport. But not many unemployed miners could lay their hands on 34 bob.
Of course it was the Communist Party that provided the machinery for us to go to Spain. I went to Victoria Station via Cardiff. We had attache cases from a bookshop in London, and we went in twos to Victoria Station, got our weekend tickets, and walked up and down in twos with a fella named Jack. Suddenly 2 big detectives come onto us. They had the usual big feet, and they said, "We think you are going to Spain." I said, "We're going for a jolly weekend to Paris." He said, "I think you're going to Spain." I said, "No." "Well, you better be back on Monday or you'll be in trouble."
The international law of non-intervention had been passed, so it was technically illegal for you to go to Spain. It's not easy to get there. Anyway, I contacted the Anti-Fascist Committee in London, and we left by boat train, but before we got onto the boat, we were interrogated by the special branch, and we were asked, "Well, where are you going?" But we were interviewed one at a time, because we didn't, even though there was a group going, we didn't travel together, we travelled separately. as individuals as well. So I was asked, you know, well, what is your job? I'm a coal miner. Oh, how can you afford to go to Paris for a weekend? Well, I said, I've been saving up. And they didn't believe me, I knew that, but I had to say something, and this is the line I took. Anyhow, they let me go, and when I got on the French side, here again I was interrogated, but not by a special branch, by uniformed customs people. And they said, are you going to Spain? To Spain? No. I said, go to Paris for a weekend. And they didn't bother being about the niceties. They said, all right, if you want to go to Spain and get killed, that's your business. Pass.
But as soon as we arrived on the boat, the instructions we had from the start, don't talk to anybody, don't tell anybody where you're going. It's all very hush-hush. There was an old gent sitting in the corner. We didn't know him from Adam. He turned around and he said, are you going to Spain, are you going? He looked at them and, no, I'm not going to Spain, what are you going to go to Spain for? Condon said, I feel like a drink, so I'm going to the bar. In about 10 minutes time, he came back shouting, everybody's going to Spain, who lot? So we joined him in the bar, and there was about 30 Irishmen, and they were all going to Spain. And the boat was full of people singing the international across, and this is the secret voyage you're supposed to be making.
And the last 5 letters face the international unites the human race. En la lucha final, el género humano es la internacional.
We were met in Paris by Charlotte Haldin, the wife of Professor Haldin. We were told that she would be meeting us at the station in Paris, and she wore a red rose in her coat.
In Paris, we separated from the Irish and called a taxi and asked for Plastic Combat. That was our place of contact. We jumped in the taxi and he took us to the Plastic Combat, and when we offered him money, he said, no, salute, camarade, no money.
We were put up in various small hotels and pensions, and but there were groups of people coming from other countries at the same time, and I found there were about 400 odd international brigaders, if you like, or potential in the Glasgow Combat District at that time, and the hotels were full of them. But in France, the mayor is also chief of police, so the mayor in that area was a communist. So he was also chief of the police, so the police didn't bother us at all.
We had been up all night singing all the way over from England. We hadn't had any sleep. So myself and Condon went to look for a meal first of all and try and find somewhere to sleep. We went to a cafe, and by gestures we called the waitress over. We were trying to... Condon said, well, I'll make her understand what you want. So he drew a pig for bacon, and then he went against cock-a-doodle for an egg. So she giggled, went back, but she brought it. So Condon was very chuffed about this. He could master the language barrier. Well, as we were having our food, a young Breton came in. Like the Breton onions who used to sell onions in South Wales. Black beret. And he stood by the bar talking to the girl, and they were chatting about us, obviously. So eventually Condon said, well, I'll ask him if he can find us a place to sleep. So he called him over, and Breton, you speak English? I speak English. But he couldn't speak a word of English. So Condon said, you, me? No. No. Me, him, you. No, and up straight away. Back to the table, to the girl. So we slunk out of the restaurant, red-faced. Well, we didn't find any place to sleep, and then we went to the Guardian Ord that night, and it was like a scene from the First World War. The train was a troop train. There were all wooden seats. The platform was filled with wives and sweethearts saying goodbye to the people. The whole train was going to Spain.